This is Ramblings of Madmen.
I'm Gimble.
And I'm Val. And
I'm Harper.
yes, we have Harper as a guest today, and today our topic is horror. More specifically, horror in video games. And the question is horror any good? And as usual, this question is more to kick off the discussion more than anything else because my questions are absolute garbage. And
You can say that again.
Yes. Let's see. I've got horrible naming sense and horrible questions. Let's get into it. So we have Harper today with us because she has a lot of experience with the horror genre, and she doesn't get to play games as much often as she'd like. She doesn't have the time or funds to do so, but she is still very experienced with the horror genre. So we have her here today to help us, who are very inexperienced with this area, in the discussion. So Harper, what do you think of the horror genre?
It's okay. It depends on the person, really.
So you're into dark stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so, what was, come on, you gotta help us out here. Come on.
I'm sorry, I told you I'm not good at this.
Well, what I like about horror games is the adrenaline rush.
Alright, so, off the top of your head, Gimble, what would be your favorite horror game to play, since we haven't touched many horror games?
What horror games have I played?
You said you played two. It's not very hard.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of one of them. It was an old game my dad had on his computer when I was growing up, and I remember that being very fun. But most of them are just kind of the more horror scenes from various action games. Off the top of my head, Resistance 2 had a few scenes in the main campaign that were absolutely terrifying to me as a child, but probably wouldn't be anymore. But being chased by things in general, water scenes in any video game with water and a thing in the water, that's a horror game automatically.
He's absolutely traumatized by Ratchet and Clank. Anyway, it is, by the way, Harper, Ratchet and Clank is a child's game. It is not horror at all.
Okay. No wonder I didn't play
Yeah, so what is your favorite horror game, Harper?
that. There's a few. You want me to list them off?
Go ahead, list them off.
Oh, okay. Until Dawn, Outlast, Supernatural. I'm trying to think. They all left my head right now.
FNAF?
Yes, FNAF. That's a big one for me.
She actually likes FNAF for more than just the horror. Ain't that shocking?
Yeah, you listen to the music and you say you hate it.
I like the music and I like the lore. I don't like the game. I am not somebody who enjoys a severe adrenaline rush first thing in the morning.
I do. I need that. I'm half asleep still.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Well, so the horror genre, the different horror games you mentioned just now have a few different themes. With Outlast, you are constantly hunted and you feel the pressure of being in danger the entire time. With Until Dawn, it's more jump scares and an overall creep factor. And with FNAF, it's all about, first of all, the aesthetics, and second, about the jump scares.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite horror game, and I personally don't count this as a horror game, but I've heard that other people do, is Bloodborne. And I enjoy Bloodborne not for the horror aspect, but because I enjoy the challenge and because I view it as an excellent game. And it is, if you're looking at it for horror, it's more creepy imagery than anything else. So when you're playing a horror game, what do you think is most important? The aesthetic, the jump scares, gore, or the overall creep factor?
Design probably, and music, which she didn't list, but
Oh yeah, music
all the way.
Music's a huge one for me, because crappy music, you're not going to get scared or into the game very much. Like, I was watching a YouTuber play Outlast, and the music, they timed the music just right, where, yeah, you need to time the music right.
But then there's games like FNAF where the music from FNAF is all by the fan base and you don't actually hear anything in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that still makes a good horror game?
Yeah, because you can, like, hear things throughout the game that, like, gets you startled, and you're looking through a creepy camera. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
Cameras are creepy.
And the lack of sound in general does put you on edge too. Just the lack of music or background noise, because lots of games use their soundtrack to put you at ease to make sure you don't ever feel uncomfortable playing the game, where horror games do the exact opposite.
I mean, if we look at Bendy and the Ink Machine, which is a horror game that it's Not as scary as some, but I definitely count it for the jump scares and the overall running from an ink monster aesthetic. But it uses music very well, if memory serves me, in that, you know, sometimes it's just not there, but then the second the monster comes out, you know the monster's there, and you are running for dear life.
Yeah.
I do really enjoy when video games use the soundtrack to give you a warning that puts you on edge for the big bad creature coming.
And then there's complete reverse, where the music kicks into high gear, and you think there's something coming. Think the Jaws music, how it lets you know the shark's coming. But then you take that, and then there's nothing there. It gets your adrenaline up, and then there's that moment of relief, and then BOOM! How were you scared by that, Harper? Oh my god.
Because she's 2 feet away from you and you screamed.
That would do it.
I didn't expect that. All of a sudden I hear him screaming, "Well!"
That just proves my point.
Yeah, I'm also very jumpy, so...
Which is funny, considering you like horror.
Everybody says that. I know.
And I'm half of everyone, so...
Well, that's part of why people enjoy it, is when they are jumpy and they get jumped. A horror game's no fun if it doesn't scare you.
Yeah. And so when you're looking at horror, what is more scary to you guys? Is it the gore factor, the fact that you're going to get chopped up? Is it the concept of the big bag catching you?
No, it's the thing in the water.
Enough
Okay.
with the water! You're not in Jaws!
We have established that Gimble does not like water.
Okay, I'm curious. When you go on a cruise, are you going to stay away from the water?
I'm not going on a cruise.
What if you didn't have a choice?
Fight me! I'm not going on a cruise.
He'd probably hide in my basement. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Bring the water to him.
Oh, please no.
I'm kidding!
And thus we have discovered that Gimble will move to a desert when he is older.
I'm already in a desert. Fight me.
A more deserty desert.
Like the Egypt desert.
Yeah. Sahara?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Come on, there's no water. There are scorpions.
Scorpions are cool.
No, they're terrifying.
No, they're cool.
Terrifying.
Cool.
Terrifying.
And
Cool.
on
They're
that
scary!
on that note, scorpions, is it when a scary creature jumps out at you, is it something like a giant scorpion that scares you more, or is it that big guy with the hooks in his face?
Scorpions.
Water in space.
Oh my mother mercy! Dude, move on!
No. That's what scares me.
So, have you seen Jaws?
No.
Oh.
I've seen
Chicken.
half of it.
And besides, sharks are cute. I
gotta-
like sharks.
I
They're
gotta
like the
agree with
puppy
that.
dogs of the ocean.
No, whales are terrifying.
How does that make sense?
No, okay,
No,
I
no,
watched...
no. That makes sense.
Yeah!
But giant squid.
I
above
feel like I'm
all
the
else,
only
is-
sane person
No,
here.
the giant
terrifying.
squid...
Oh wait, no, I'm not sane.
The giant... Okay. It only attacks you if you, like,
Well, if you're like 2
bothering
bajillion
it.
miles underwater, but
No, just don't bother the creature and it won't bother you. Simple as that.
I feel like I'm the only sane person here, but then I remembered I'm not sane, so...
Yeah!
also, like, you know the anglerfish?
Yes.
Do you know that on average those are about 2 meters long? They're 6 feet long.
They're adorable.
Yeah, I thought they were like the size of basketball. I'm like, that's fine. No, they're 6 feet long. Those things could swallow me whole.
Yeah, so could a whale.
You've gone off on a complete
Fair point.
tangent. You've gone off on a complete tangent. Okay, so let's talk about FNAF, which is one of the biggest recent horror games, which has quote-unquote ended, but I don't believe that. Scott Cawthon is not human. Anyway,
Neither are you.
I've accepted that. He's a different kind of inhuman. So, what about FNAF drew you to its horror, Harper?
My cousin actually got me to play it, first of all. First time I played it, I threw the computer across the room because I got startled so badly. And then I kept playing it. I didn't get scared of it after all. It's just the fact where you know they're coming to kill you, so you can't defend yourself. You're sitting in a desk.
So you just feel that constant pressure of knowing something's there, yet not being able to do something about it.
Yeah.
That, or being very limited in the actions you can take to do something.
That's probably part of why the water levels in games are the things that scare me, is because You can't freaking shoot the fish. It doesn't work in most games. Some games that works, but not all games.
I want to throw you into a pool just to see how you're gonna react.
A pool's fine.
There's a pool over there.
No, I meant like a really deep pool, and put like a plastic shark
How
in
deep
there.
we talking?
Deep is relative.
Oh, deep. I don't know.
Like 12 feet, 3 feet, half a foot. The ocean, what?
Ocean.
No.
Yes.
No.
I want to see what you would do. That'd
The
be so
ocean-
entertaining. That sounds so mean, but like now you're like, I wonder what would happen if this happened.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
I
you-
refuse to go in lakes. So, no.
Yeah, there we go. See?
What is it with you two in water? I mean, I refuse to go in the ocean,
I'm
but
fine,
that's just
I'll go
'cause-
swimming, but people just don't realize how terrified I am the whole time.
You like are calm on the outside, but instead you're like, ah!
Exactly. Exactly.
So you feel that being... So you're scared of the unknown, essentially, with the ocean? Is that
Yeah, essentially.
it? So
Video games that are set in space and the ocean are the ones that get to me. Even if they're not set as horror games, they're the ones that get me on edge the most.
well,
Where gore and creepy creatures and stuff don't tend to set me on edge. It's the things in space when I don't know what it is that's hunting me.
So, first of all, that brings up an excellent point in that when you are trapped, which is another way to help the aesthetic of a video game. You see it with FNAF where you can't move. You see it with Dead Space when you're trapped on a spaceship. You see it in Outlast when you're trapped in the asylum. Literally the whole point of Until Dawn is to survive the night in that stupid mansion.
It's a nice mansion, but it's stupid.
It's stupid. It's surrounded by Windigos.
Wendigos.
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 Wendigos are horrifying.
They
Have you read, like, all the mythology behind them? They're horrifying.
They're so funny though. Like the people react. They're like, oh my heck, I'm gonna die.
You would totally react worse than that.
Oh yeah, I know. Okay, we've established I'd be the first to die in a horror movie. Apparently, he'd be the one killing everybody.
And she's pointing at me.
Yes.
I'd be the one who went on a
He'd be
idiot.
under the bed.
No, I'd be the idiot who went out to try to shoot everything and died in like 10 minutes.
He'd be the one who went looking for the light box.
Unless it's in the water, then I'd be hiding under the bed. Zombie apocalypse? Sure. Zombie apocalypse in the water? No thanks.
What if zombies could swim? That's a weird question. I
Well,
just
no,
thought
the thing
about
is they
it.
don't need to breathe. They could just walk along the bottom of the ocean.
Which you
and
said-
then
That's
murder
creepy,
you.
though. What's
Exactly!
They do that.
That's why you don't want to be in the water!
They do that in Pirates of the Caribbean.
I know. I was gonna bring that up. That actually doesn't bother me because they're skeletons and they're amazing.
So wait, you aren't bothered by skeletons, but you're bothered by zombies?
Yes.
That's a double standard.
So who cares? I'm a human. Confusing.
Yes, we are confusing. Anyway,
Look, I'm terrified of the, of water things, but not of swimming.
okay, yeah, he can swim just fine. So,
Can you wait? He can swim. Fine?
He
Yeah,
can
I can
swim.
swim fine.
Okay.
I used to be
Well,
on a
you're
swim
here.
team. Not very long. I don't swim
was a year.
great, but I can
Like
swim
how-
well enough to not die.
fair enough. Okay, so I want to describe a game to you. I already mentioned this one to Gimble here, but Harper, I'm going to describe a game to you, and I want you to tell me if you know it and what you think of it as a horror game.
Okay.
So you're trapped in a mansion filled with ghosts, and your only way to deal with them is to take pictures of them. But you can't take pictures of them until they get real close.
That sounds like a lame game.
Really? Because Fatal Frame, that's what the game is called, it was actually a freaking freaky game.
Well, seeing how I don't play video games and I only watch them.
Well, you do occasionally play some.
Yeah, when you force me to play them.
You've played FNAF of your own free will.
Yes, I know. Other than that, but I don't know. It just doesn't have the element of fright that I like.
So what kind of fright do you like?
Just I don't know. Just anything that for me, horror games they don't have to be about the supernatural. Just fears that get people scared, like spiders, death in general, the dark.
So it's essentially you more empathize with the character's situation than anything else. It's being trapped in a situation where they're scared, so you're scared as well. Mm-hmm. Which, considering the FNAF card doesn't have any emotions whatsoever.
Yeah, that's why I'm not scared of it, because I'm just like, I could be a robot for all I know.
So that's why you like Until Dawn so much?
Because I get attached to the characters, and then I'm just like, you can't kill them off!
And I'm sitting here, just kill them all off. They're all jerks.
I would kill you if you said that, and I was playing it.
I would sit next to you and just be like, let them die, let them die.
Oh! No! No!
The only person who deserves to live is Josh.
He's actually my favorite character.
Okay. And so, I get to bring this up in a horror game. Are you more scared of being trapped in your own body, or are you more scared of the enemy? And what I mean by that is if the controls make it hard for you to move and act as the character, or are you more scared of the monster itself?
Probably not being able to move. It's,
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely for me the limitation in movement or anything.
I mean,
Well, it annoys me equally and frightens me equally, so I use the anger to counter the fright.
yeah, it's...
That's how you get through a game without being scared. You get angry at it.
Well, that's the fun thing about video games is you get scared. That's the fun of it. It wouldn't be called a horror game. That's
True
what
enough.
Scare you. That's the English. That's the main part of a horror game.
Well,
It's
so...
to scare you.
Even with the point of a horror game being there to scare you, there comes a point in my mind where the awkward controls just inhibit your experience. Like Gimble was talking about how it makes him mad, and to me that's the point when a horror game has failed. And so, with Until Dawn, it's a point-and-click adventure, right? So you are heavily limited in your control of the characters, but it's more of a cinematic experience anyway, so you're not as bothered. So we've established that, crappy controls, while they can be scary, they're more irritating than anything else. So, what do you think is more scary then? A hidden threat or being trapped?
It's a hard one.
That is a hard one.
I don't know. If I had to choose, probably getting trapped.
Well, so there's a game called Alien Isolation.
Oh my
I don't know, that is
gosh!
so much fun!
That's a horror game I really want to play.
Oh, that looks so cool.
It appears we have a good reaction from the audience. And so, in it, you're playing as a main character whose name I forget. Don't kill me in the comments.
Billy Bob Joe. Call.
Yes, Billy Bob Joe. Sounds good.
You realize that we are now going to be lynched in the comments for that.
Yeah, good enough.
It's okay.
Anyway, so, and you're hunted.
As long as
in
they
this-
don't come at me with the ocean.
That's true.
Oh my heck. Dude!
You'll be getting pictures
the ocean
of the
can't
ocean.
move! Unless they come.
Tsunamis! The ocean moves a lot!
I actually have to agree with Gimble on this one. The ocean does move a lot.
Yeah, I know, but you'd have better, luck getting thrown into the ocean than it coming all the way to Utah.
Good
True.
point.
True. Well, considering Lake Powell used to occupy this area.
The ocean moves a heck
I
of a
give
lot.
up, I give up, I give up.
Okay, so Alien Isolation, you're on a spaceship, you're trapped, and you're constantly being hunted by the Xenomorph, which for some reason I know about. Despite having never played the game and not being interested in playing the game because I'm a little
How about
sissy.
the Alien movies? You watch the Alien movies at all?
No, I'm a sissy.
Oh, okay.
You've seen the Alien movies though, right, Harper?
Depends on what they're called.
Alien.
I've never seen that. I want to.
It's based off, the game is based off the movies.
Oh.
Apparently though, I keep hearing the first one's the only good one, but it's like a trilogy.
Well, it depends on what it's rated. I don't watch rated R movies.
I don't think it's rated R.
No, it is rated R, but I have edited copies.
Oh yeah, there are edited copies out there. Anyway, so with this, it apparently creates the perfect atmosphere. But the thing about Alien Isolation is it also adds a mechanic that is absolutely traumatizing for anybody who's not used to it. And that's the fact that you can turn on a setting on your controller where if you make noise in the room, the alien will come get you.
That'd be
They
in
actually
real life.
put that in the game?
They put that in
I
the
heard
game.
people talking about that as a concept, but I've never... Wow.
So if you're loud in the room, or you're a teenager living at home, your mother, dinner time. Dinner time. The alien
Instant death.
instant death. Well, at least you don't have to come to a stopping point. You're already dead.
That'd
Oh,
be me in real
gosh.
life. I just make so much noise.
Yeah.
That means you have to play the game in, mute, terrified silence.
Oh yeah. There's a clip on the internet I saw of a guy just hunched over his controller, breathing slowly, just moving, and then he flips out, screams, and dies. Yep.
Oh my gosh. I'd have to play with my controller 3 rooms over from me and just use some strings to press the buttons.
Well, apparently it's actually really sensitive.
Good luck with that.
Okay, I'm gonna pour some super glue into this speaker on my,
You can
the
turn it
microphone
off,
onto
okay?
my-
You can turn the setting off.
But what fun is
No,
that?
that's the sissy way out.
Yeah.
I'm giving them looks, since you can't see it. I'm giving them both looks. Okay, so what do you think of this as a mechanic in a horror game?
It makes the game more fun and more intense.
Definitely more intense.
I like it because it brings the game like into your room right next to you. Because instead of knowing that there's a screen between you and the game, the screen just got a little bit closer.
Well, I feel like it has a degree of closeness that's different from VR. With VR, it's right in your face and it's all around you.
I love VR.
Yeah, you love VR.
I love VR.
Would you play Resi 7 in VR if you
Oh,
could?
Yeah.
Well, we have our sacrifice for the evening. Yeah.
Ouch! No.
No, I'm talking about putting you in a VR headset and watching you die.
Cold. You're very, very cold.
I am very cold, but you'd probably actually die of joy more than anything else.
I'd probably be screaming
Yes.
and throwing the controllers at you when I'm done. Cause I'd be like, oh!
That's funny. Anyway, so that brings up a point I wanted to talk about actually, and that's a horror in VR.
I've never actually tried VR.
I love VR.
I tried VR, but it wasn't like a full game experience. It was like, oh, hey, here's a VR headset. Try it on. We've got a weird room you can wander around in. Sure, that's fun.
I
You
haven't
gotta
even
try
touched.
it with horror. You have to play with affected the horror experience in VR.
Well, so,
That is a good game.
I've never even touched a VR headset.
yeah, you've seen them,
You
though.
gotta. I have never touched it.
I really want to. I want to so bad.
And so that's the thing is with VR, there are some people like Harper here who would probably argue that VR is the truest way to experience a horror game.
Not the truest, but one of them.
One of them. So, do you think that using VR is a way to cheat and make it easier to scare the player, or is it an excellent way of playing?
Depends on the game.
It does, because if they're just using it to throw things at you out of nowhere, just a jump screen 2 inches away from your face as opposed to across the room or whatever, I can see that being just a lame, cheap out way of trying to scare you. But if they are using it to have you be more aware of your surroundings and adding kind of just that extra sense of reality to the game.
If it's making you feel like you're experiencing the terror the character's going through, then it's good, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, I haven't seen too much of it because, again, I'm a little sissy, but yes, I don't like horror. Stop giving me that look, Harper. So, with that I think Resi does that very well. Resident Evil 7, for those who don't get my weird acronyms, or shortenings, whatever it is. So, from what I've seen, that does it very well, where, yes, the enemies are in your face, but they aren't always randomly in your face. There's always that pressure of when are they going to come out? When are they going to come after me? You know, there's a scene close to the beginning of the game that you see in the trailers where a guy bursts through a wall with an axe. I think doing that in VR would be like, oh my gosh!
I want to see you play it now. I'm just like,
I'd probably just lock down and stop moving. Honestly, I would probably just lock down like, I'm not doing anything. If I don't do anything, nothing will happen.
I would definitely need a new controller.
You'd
I'd
probably...
just snap it in half. Just...
Well, you're already hard enough on your controllers as is. Okay, so I gotta direct this one at Gimble, because you probably know nothing of this game. Do you consider Doom a horror game?
No.
No.
The
And
thing is, you're too powerful for it to be considered much of a horror game, while there's the atmosphere and just the elements there for it to be a horror game very easily. At least the latest Doom title is far from being a horror game. The earlier titles, lots of them definitely can be considered a horror game just because of a lack of visibility and enemies coming at you from out of nowhere. And I believe Doom 3 was very much considered a horror title, but I haven't had the opportunity to play it. But the latest Doom game is not a horror game.
yeah. Well, so here's the thing: is that I would make the same argument with Bloodborne, which is considered a horror game for unknown reasons, in that it's the imagery and the visual style that is more akin to horror than the actual gameplay. With Bloodborne, I did have a few quote-unquote jump scares, but that was mostly because I came around a corner and there was an enemy I wasn't expecting there. So my reaction, oh my gosh, was essentially that. And, I think that's done well. It's when you have the opportunity to see the jump scare coming, you just don't notice it. I think that's when a jump scare is done well. Like in FNAF, you can totally see it coming. You know when Foxy is running down the hall that you're screwed. But it still scares you. Thoughts, Harper?
Well, that's when, that game is because you can't do anything, so when Foxy comes around the corner, you're like a sitting duck.
You are literally a sitting duck, yeah.
You can't do anything, and so that's, and then when, you're waiting for it to come, yet you don't know when it's supposed to come, that's when it scares you, because you don't know when it's coming, but you know it's coming.
Yeah, and that's an interesting aspect of horror is when you know it's coming, but you don't know where it is. And that's a huge thing with Alien Isolation, where you get, I think it's the first hour or so of just it's a space station simulation. You get to wander around without any fear, and then it begins. Bless
Sweet
you.
mercy, child. Bless you.
Anyway.
That hurt.
So, are there... You okay?
Yes, I am.
Alright. Are there any specific horror titles you two wanted to bring up before I take control of the conversation? Again.
Yeah, there's one thing. I dislike it in horror games when they give you no options and scare you that way. When you're just trapped waiting for a jump scare to come. I like it when you have options for movement and options to try to avoid it, when all in all they probably add up to nothing, but you can at least try, because that makes it feel that much more terrifying when you've done everything you can, but you still come face to face with the bad guy.
Well, so I think this is an excellent point, because if you're just trapped in one location and you know the jump scare's coming, I mean, it's still nerve-wracking. I'm not going to deny that. But if you do everything you can to run and find that nothing you do helps, I think that's more scary. Harper, do you agree or disagree or what?
I agree. I have nothing.
Or did you hear the question?
I'm sorry, I'm spacey today. Yeah, I'm lost.
You're lost. Okay.
I'm lost.
So, we were just talking about how when you have the chance to run but you can't escape, it's more scary than just being tied down and forced into the fear.
Hello, dog.
Alright, dog's gone. So, is it worse being tied down into the fear, like a cutscene or something, versus being able to run away?
I like having the option to actually run, to see, like in Outlast, you have the option to run, yet you know you're gonna die anyway, because the killer's, right behind you.
Yeah.
I was watching Dan play Outlast by himself, and he locked himself in a locker. Smart choice. And then the killer killed him. He didn't run. He went to a locker, locked himself in, and is like, I'm fine here.
But you're not fine.
You're not fine. The killer's right there.
You're never fine. And so I think that's an excellent way of putting it. It's that, even if you can't escape, it's nice being able to run. And it not just from a gameplay perspective, it's also great from a horror perspective, because I think that humans are most terrified at the moment when they feel the most despair. If there's...
When you realize you can't escape.
Yes.
Like you with water.
Yeah, exactly. You can't escape the ocean. There's nothing you can do.
There's...
It's coming for you.
That's what?
It will get you.
70% of Earth is water or something like that?
Salt water.
Salt
I think
water.
it's more than that.
Something like that, yeah. It's
A lot.
Well, you better be careful going home then.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we crossed 3 rivers on the way back.
Rivers are fine. Rivers have alligators, and alligators are cute. Oceans are not fine.
Alligators are not cute. Crocodiles
They're
are cute.
freaking... No, alligators are adorable.
No, they are not.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
They're not.
Why are crocodiles cuter than alligators, though?
They are so cute.
But alligators, when they walk around, they walk so funny.
No.
Okay, that just completely derailed. So, I wanted to bring up another recent horror title, and are you two familiar with Hello Neighbor? Harper's freaking
somewhat.
I love that game.
I don't think the microphone will be able to pick it up if you cover your mouth.
I love that game. That game's great.
Yes. I think it's not as scary as some other games, but I still think it's an excellent horror game because the music comes in and lets you know, oh, he's close and he's coming for you.
Oh yeah.
You also get the chance to see him coming. You have the chance to run away, but if you accidentally step in like a bear trap or if he throws glue and you don't jump in time, you know you're screwed. And so I think that's part of what makes it such a good horror game is first of all, you're going to it. You don't have the option to get away. You have to go to him. Because what you're after in Hello Neighbor is to get into the basement of your neighbor's house. You know, I think the solution would be to call the police for this guy, but whatever.
It's a horror game.
Yeah.
They make ridiculous decisions.
Oh yeah, I still question the bear traps. That just seems excessive.
He wants to keep his house safe. He's hiding something.
And I also question the fact that he has an excessive amount of bear traps to begin with.
You don't have any bear traps?
Like you don't have those just laying around?
I mean, I've got 2, but that's about it.
I didn't know that.
No, I was joking.
Yeah, I know. I'm kidding.
I wanted to buy one once, but I decided against wastefully spending my money for once.
I'd have to smack you if you did.
I'd be
Anyway,
hiding in my bed.
don't worry, he's harmless to anything that isn't dead.
I'm
Sounds
questioning
like
that too.
He questions it.
I'm not sure what that means.
It is not supposed to make sense.
I've stopped questioning a long time.
I'm not sane, so don't worry about it.
I know.
So, Hello Neighbor. Aside from loving it to death, Harper, what do you like it? Hate it?
I love it.
You love it. What do you like about it?
Just the element of not being able to get out of it, and it's a creepy neighbor. We all have creepy neighbors around us.
Yeah.
It's reality.
Okay, the neighbor looks more like Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec than anything else, so I don't see him as a person scary, more as a presence he's scary.
Well, you're walking into someone's house randomly trying to solve something.
Which, you know, it's either a murder, a kidnapping, or a satanic ritual, if Matt Pats to be believed. You know, it's all these kind of weird stuff. And I get that the full game has released, and I think the story has been completed, but I'm still in, like, the second beta as far as mentality.
I think I finally found that game my dad used to play.
Is that what you've been doing this whole time?
Yeah.
Yep, this
Okay.
whole time. I believe it is Marathon.
Marathon, huh?
A game from, let's see, 1990, let's see, 1994, yes, I believe so.
I guessed it.
I'm so happy.
Or did you just look at my screen where
No,
it's
I
open?
guessed it. I guessed it. I feel so proud.
Bravo! But yes, I don't even know if it's technically classified as a horror game, but it definitely terrified me as a very small child.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was terrified by Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess as a child. And not like...
What on earth?
Well, so... I wasn't terrified, like, I will never play this game. It's just, I was playing, and then suddenly an enemy was spawned, and it would give me a heart attack. And I just remember flipping out, which is a good thing to flip out when you're playing on the Wii, because it swings the sword.
Oh. Hey! That's a big advantage, isn't it?
That is a very big advantage.
He's now under.
I remember one time, actually, I got jump scared in Overwatch of all games.
How did you get jump scared in Overwatch?
I was playing one of those boss fight games where you basically pick a Reinhardt, boost them up, give them super speed and tons of damage and whatnot. And I selected the wrong hero playing against them. I selected Widowmaker. I went, well, I might as well try to help my team. So I was looking down a hallway, and then he just appeared. That was the first time I actually managed to throw a mouse. It scared me really badly because I was not ready.
That's
Don't die.
I will never die.
You want to bet?
Whoa, no murders here, guys. No, until I leave. At
I'll wait
least.
till later.
Yes.
Yes. So, I mean, first of all, that's the great thing is fear is essentially a product. Hold on, dog. Keep going. I'm gonna grab the dog. You get out
Oh
of
boy. Things and stuff. And alligators are definitely cute.
Alligators are not cute.
Alligators
No!
are adorable.
No, they are not.
Have you seen their faces?
Yes, I have. They're like the devil's creatures. No, the devil's creatures are spiders. I hate spiders.
And giant squids.
here. Okay,
Giant squids are cute.
what I question.
Ow!
Okay,
What about giant
Cute.
squids?
I question
They're
both.
tentacles in death.
No, they're not.
What about freaking colossal squid? Those things are awful.
No, they're not.
Instead of suction cups, they have rotating hooks.
So what?
I question both of you right now. Like, how do you find crocodiles cuter than alligators?
Easy. They're cuter. It's just
They look
nature.
exactly the same aside
No, they
from
don't.
the shape of their
They
snout.
do not. They do not. Alligators are cuter.
Crocodiles are cuter. I will win this.
You will both lose.
No.
Yes.
I'm Googling evidence.
No,
Okay.
crocodiles are
I
cuter.
What about
declare-
snapping turtles? Snapping turtles are really cute.
Oh, they are.
They're so cute.
They're so cute.
Friggin- I want to hold one.
Okay, I can't disagree. Turtles are in general cute.
Have you seen it, babies?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Don't kill us, please.
I'm not going to. I mean, I'd consider humiliating you, but that's too much effort.
No.
That's too much effort.
Yeah, I know. You're lazy.
I am lazy. So, what was I talking about? Hello Neighbor, right?
Yeah, huh?
So with Hello Neighbor, you know, you're trapped in the house. I don't know what I was saying earlier. It was probably way more profound. It probably was way more profound. I'm certain of it.
Profound. Right.
words.
Yes. Very profound. If we had Plato come, he would have been in awe at my intended words that I've forgotten. Anyway, so I think one of the things that make Hello Neighbor great is the fact that you have a clear goal. And that's something I feel that Bendy and the Ink Machine kind of fails on. Because you kind of have these mini goals that you have to do. But with Hello Neighbor, you have a clear and achievable goal, and you know when you're making progress. And that's why part of the reason why I don't like FNAF as much is because it's time-based goals. You have to survive for a specific amount of time. I don't like that as much because I usually like to take my time with games. And while there are certainly games that I can rush through super fast, like Shadow of the Colossus, with others, I like to take my time. I like to get used to it. I like to get to know it. I like to memorize it. I like to understand everything about it. And so that's part of what makes me like Hello Neighbor. Gimble, are there any other horror games you wanted to mention?
Nope.
Nope? Seriously?
I don't know a lot of horror games. I've played a lot of first-person shooters and not a lot of horror.
I expected you to spiel about Alien Isolation for another minute or two.
Or water.
Well, I haven't played it. Okay, water. Freaking Earth.
You had to
Earth. All
start
of
it
Earth.
Hey,
The water
you
that
asked
is
him what
on
he
the
wanted to
Earth.
bring up.
We are living a video game and the water is the bad guy.
The water's not the bad guy. The water helps you live.
That's literally my
Salt water
argument.
doesn't help you live.
So what?
Actually, salt water technically does help us live. You know, water cycle and all that. I win that argument. Anyway, so are there any horror games you wanted to bring up, Harper?
I'm looking at them right now.
You're looking at them? Seriously?
Okay, look, I had like a billion and they left my head when I got here. I am so sorry. Oh, Friday the 13th. I like that one. Silent Hills.
Oh, Silent Hills. Silent Hills has been praised as one of the best
It is so
horror
good.
games
Because you're
ever.
stuck in a loop.
Pyramid Head looks so cool.
I mean,
Is
it's
that Silent Hill?
yeah,
Yeah.
Silent Hill
Yeah,
2.
Pyramid Head. I like the character design, but I don't know much more about the game.
Silent Hill is amazing. I want to play it.
Do you
so
guys
badly.
were you guys paying attention to the internet when the hype for Silent Hills was around?
Nope.
Which it was essentially going to be a sequel to Silent Hill, and it would have been directed by Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro. You know, who is a master of the horror movie genre. So those two working together is just like, wow. So here's another question: if you had a perfect horror game, what would it be?
Perfect
Like,
horror
already
game.
existing?
Okay,
That
it's in
or make it up.
space, but there's an ocean.
Oh my freaking heck. Drop the ocean.
No, seriously, that'd be really cool though. Like, think
How
about
is
it.
that
Like,
even possible?
no,
Space
there's like a
aquarium?
giant spacecraft, right?
Yeah.
It's got an ocean in it, right? Like a ocean habitat for alien creatures.
An aquarium.
But something goes wrong. Yeah, giant space aquarium.
So
But
basically
something goes
like
wrong.
Jurassic World except in space.
Yeah,
Sure.
That'd be so cool.
right?
That'd be so cool.
Wouldn't that be so cool?
That'd be awesome.
And you got like alien creatures running all over the place, and there's like a whole map that's just all water, and you gotta avoid the like demon creatures living in the water.
That is awesome. Yeah,
Wouldn't that be awesome?
That's awesome.
Wouldn't that be just so awesome?
I can't disagree. I mean, you said water and space, and
And, like,
you think lame.
Maybe you
but
get
then
armed with
explain
like
it's
a
good.
tranquilizer gun, so you're limited in your ability to defend yourself, but you've got something.
And then there's the idea of them being able to get back once it wears off.
Exactly.
Oh man, that was actually a good idea.
I'd play that game.
Right?
If my parents allowed me.
Well, and I think one of the things that would scare me most about that game is the concept of they're not down for the count. They can come back.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you it's not like you cleared this area and you can go back there to get a breather. You go back and it's back too.
Well, so,
And you don't have ammo this time.
how about you're trapped in a room with it and you have to complete an objective, but you don't know when it'll wake up?
Even worse would be being trapped in the ocean area with a giant sleeping demon creature in it. And you gotta swim and find the exit before it wakes up.
Maybe not even a time limit, but if you mess it up, like you swim too hard or make too much noise in the water, it'll wake up.
Yeah.
And then you have to balance that between your breath gauge.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be terrifying. What about you, Harper? What would be your ideal horror game?
I'm not good at creating horror games. I just play whatever.
So
As long as it scares me.
select one.
Just any game?
Yeah, your dream horror game. Which one's your favorite so far?
You can either make it up or it can already exist. Take your pick.
Layers of Fear.
I've seen a playthrough of Layers of Fear.
It's so great.
And Layers of Fear is more of a trip out horror than actually terrifying. It's stuff that is just so inconceivably weird that it kind of sets you on edge.
Well, I'm a person who is scared all the time.
All the time.
So you can't expect much from me.
And my ideal horror game is a game that isn't actually scary. Okay, I'm going to take that ability off the table. It has to be scary. So my favorite kind of horror game is, first of all, I have to have free movement of the character. If I'm trapped in a single spot, that's no good. Like, I won't touch it. And second, it can't be in VR. That will traumatize me for life.
No, that's the point of a horror game, though.
And I think that I would have it set up so there's a single monster chasing you, but the way it comes at you is different. Like, occasionally it might disguise itself as a person you talked to earlier, or it might come out of the shadows, or drop from the ceiling, or just come at you from all different ways. Sometimes it might make you mentally hallucinate, kind of similar to Slenderman, and there are times when it might physically attack you.
Okay, so, what if they released a horror game, right? And there's 2 campaigns you can pick. Like, instead of like having easy, medium, hard or something, there's just 2 settings. And one of them is the usual horror big baddie, whatever, chasing you. And the other one you're playing is the big baddie, and it's got a total different sense. That's Friday the 13th?
You
they
either
do
play
that?
as Jason or the people trying to
That's a multiplayer one, though, right?
It could be.
Could be.
I'm not sure.
I think it is multiplayer.
Possibly. It totally seems multiplayer.
Huh. Well, there we go.
Already created.
Anyway, so there's so then from there you have to be trapped. I think it would be a mansion, maybe in Louisiana, just because that seems like a good spot.
Mansions are cliche.
Well, so my thought behind it is you need a big building, right? You also need a bunch of different places for this creature to hide, and
Okay, so it's a mansion, but secretly it's the ocean in disguise.
Oh my heck! Stop with the ocean!
you're free to smack him, you know.
I am?
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah, no, of course.
Just don't break any
I'm
bones.
always free to slap.
I'm too nice then. Never.
Ah, thanks.
She'll feel guilty.
I will. I feel guilty killing spiders.
She does feel guilty killing spiders.
I'll text him and be like, I killed a spider, I'm so bad!
I do get texts like that. And I'll tell her, no, it's fine. If they aren't haunting you, then they aren't bothered by it. So I think this about wraps up our discussion. We're out of time. And to cover, we talked about the different aspects of horror games. We talked about what we like in a horror game. We went off on many tangents involving oceans.
Crocodiles are cuter.
Alligators
No,
are
they're
cuter.
not!
And that.
Yes.
And we also discussed what horror games we've enjoyed, what games we'd like to play, and what games we think would be best. Do you have any closing things you'd like to say, you two?
Alligators are cuter.
Crocodiles are cuter.
Okay, anything
No.
else?
So are squids and jellyfish.
Jellyfish,
Jellyfish
yeah.
are cute.
Jellyfish are cool. I like jellyfish. But squids, no.
Squids are cute.
No.
And crabs.
Kittens.
Crabs are weird looking.
Crabs are cute!
They're weird looking.
No, they're not.
Yes,
No.
they are.
No.
What's
Yes.
cute are
No.
kittens and puppies. Moving on. Any other closing thoughts?
Can't argue with kittens.
No.
No. Okay.
I do not have any closing thoughts.
Okay. So, my final thought is, horror is evil. Don't ever touch it.
Touch it.
Wrong. Touch it a lot.
Touch it. Listen to us. We're the majority.
Touch it. Consume it. Become it.
Join the dark side. We have brownies.
Lots of brownies.
Lots of brownies. They're slightly burned.
The ocean has not touched the brownies either. You're safe.
Drop the ocean.
The ocean has...
Yes.
I will connect this. The ocean has touched the brownies, okay? Water cycle. Cows... Okay, water
Gosh
falls...
dang it, you're right.
Water falls from the sky, from the
that's
ocean
what I
evaporating. It waters the grass. Cows eat the grass. You milk the cow, and you put the milk in the brownies.
I'm gonna throw the brownies at you.
I have connected it. Anyway, so that's my
You-
final thought. This has been Val, and this is the Ramblings of Madmen.
This is Gimble signing off.
Harper. Bye.
Have a good evening.